Hello, and welcome to our inaugural program. We'll try to unpack some of the things that happened in the last week or so and take a look at what really matters. Both the US and Australia are pushing legislation to force companies to disclose when they have had a ransomware attack. On the surface, it seems like a good idea. Force companies to disclose their attacks in order for the government and private sectors to get a far more accurate accounting of what's really happening in the world. I'm all for it. The potential downside is that, at least in the US, Elizabeth Warren wants more than just disclosure of the event. She wants companies to report what the ransom was, how and who it was paid to, in what type of funds or currency it was paid to by the company, or was it paid by an insurer? Sort of seems logical, right? Except that the reason people rob banks is because they know where the money is. So once you tell the world that Acme Industries just paid a $3 million ransom, you just told the bad guys that A, these guys pay, and B, these guys have money, thus making them even greater of a target. Now don't get me wrong, Acme Industries should have had its shit together and had been protected, but they, like the overwhelming majority of companies on the planet, never think it could happen to them. So they remain blissfully ignorant when it comes to planning on an inbound attack. They probably could have spent $1 million to save $3 million, but companies rarely do the right thing unprovoked. So while public reporting of attack information could conceivably create more attacks, it also creates accountability. As a stockholder, a supplier, a partner, or a customer, I want to know that someone I'm doing business with has been attacked, and I want them to fix it. Far too many times breaches have gone unreported unless private customer data has been stolen, and even that is recent. Companies never want the bad publicity to have to tell the world that they've been breached, either because they were grossly incompetent in preventing the attack, or just because of the bad marketing surrounding it. Which gets me to my second point, insurance. Cyber insurance has been a boon for the insurance industry. It's basically been free money. Companies that were hacked rarely filed a claim because of the bad publicity. And so the insurance companies got big fat premiums and really had no payouts. Ransomware has changed all that. So what are the insurance companies now doing? They're jacking up premiums, of course. They don't make money by giving it back. They make money by keeping more than they pay. It's just economics 101. At the end of the day, it's inevitable and beneficial to society that all successful and even unsuccessful attacks are reported publicly. It will make bad or marginal companies take action before they show up in the Wall Street Journal, and that's good for everybody. They will no longer be allowed to claim ignorance. Like anything, it'll end up costing companies much more for insurance, but it will force better behavior. And finally, let's be realistic. Bad actors will get worse, not better. Ultimately, they'll have to be hunted down like the terrorists that they are. And in the meantime, let's stop making it so easy for them. Where there is strife, there is opportunity. Tech vendors with anti-ransomware solutions are starting to pop up everywhere. But like all the buzzy marketing terms before them, most are getting lost in the noise. However, you can find legitimate solutions out there. Just ask your primary vendors how they handle ransomware attacks or breaches on your behalf, and when they give you a bullshit answer, go look somewhere else. Rubrik has a nice approach. They did some nifty, smart marketing, offering up to a $5 million insurance policy if they can't recover your data from a ransomware attack. And while it's mainly good, solid marketing, it's hard to argue with. Air gap the data you care about, make sure you can get it back when your primary system is compromised, and hope to hell that they didn't hack the secondary store. Not the most ingenious thing I've ever heard of, but enormously effective. Sometimes common sense prevails. Good work by Rubrik. In other, more important news, Facebook went down for 6 hours last week, causing chaos throughout the land. Without being able to watch an endless array of useless memes and cat photos, the world accidentally became almost productive for that time. The global supply chain issues that have plagued the world since the pandemic took a huge leap forward as billions had nothing else to do, so they went to work. As if it weren't bad enough that Facebook is being down cost advertisers billions in lost revenue, even if they had legitimate products for sale, the week kept getting worse for Mr. Zuckerberg, as now 2 whistleblowers have confirmed what everyone on the planet already knew. Facebook doesn't give a shit if it destroys humanity as long as it has the ability to print money. And while the US government has historically been incompetent when faced with doing what is right for society, it may actually be forced to take action this time. At the very least, I predict the poor billionaire will have to step down and be replaced, ideally not with a clone. And speaking of clones, do you not find it interesting that tech billionaire Zuckerberg and NFL owner Mark Davis both spend upwards of $2 on the exact same haircut? My guess is this is their version of charitable acts allowing a blind monkey the opportunity to earn a banana. Speaking of bad actors, China would like more influence when it comes to tech standards. The giant feels like it's left out of standards decisions and wants a seat at the table. What a horrific idea that is. Until China can prove it's not a perpetual IP-stealing, spying nightmare of a tech culture, which it not only is, it is by far the best at it, there is no way I would allow them to have any influence at all on standards bodies. Talk about letting the fox into the henhouse. It would be a massacre. Now, in no way does my opinion reflect on the Chinese people, only the Chinese government. So unfortunately, since every Chinese tech company is in fact a puppet for the government, we have to be a little bit realistic. The irony of the Chinese desire is absurd, as it wants to access standards in major markets, like the US, for its products, but controls internet access to its billion people and effectively does not allow any real outside companies to operate effectively inside of their borders. Microsoft had to shut down LinkedIn services in China last week because it simply became impossible to operate inside of Chinese rules. Talk about biting off your nose to spite your face. LinkedIn is an access portal to help US and international companies find talent, of which there is tons inside China. So now opportunities that would have existed for its citizens will be buried, which makes no sense if you want to be a truly global player. But the good news is that TikTok is still going strong, destroying the intelligence of teenage girls around the globe. In other news, Dell has announced legacy storage modules that allow your old storage to work inside Kubernetes container environments. Why do you care? Because 99% of the enterprise storage on the planet is legacy, and 99% of new DevOps development environments are going to be containerized. So what's the issue? Good question. Containers are designed to be stateless, run anywhere environments. That's nice, except data can't be. Storage is the opposite of stateless. It is very, very much stateful. As such, containerization has been a non-starter in many cases because of the complete lack of visibility as to where and what my data actually is. Dell's offering is designed to fix just that, allow stateful storage to operate with visibility in a stateless world. The only other real alternative to date has been open source solutions which just aren't ready for enterprise prime time. Dell, who still sells more enterprise legacy storage than anyone else, has had the chance to have its cake and eat it too if this becomes the path forward for containerized storage. In other impossible but wonderful marketing news, IBM has announced it will reskill 30 million people around the world. How? No details. Why? Because it's a lovely concept. Unfortunately, the only ones I don't trust to actually pull off something like this more than IBM are governments and educational institutions, both of which IBM will rely heavily on to do any of this. In People news, former IBM Storage CMO and channel chief Eric Herzog has accepted the role of CMO at storage innovator and historically bad marketing company Infinidat, and I for one couldn't be happier. Eric is a slightly unstable, frenetic workhorse who's exactly what a boring company like Infinidat needs. The company recently brought in legendary executive Phil Bullinger as CEO, who is a fantastic operator, and now with Herzog, I would expect a lot more noise coming out of one of the industry's best-kept secrets. Which gets me to my kudos of the week. In an age where every tech founder turned billionaire seems to turn completely insane, i.e. Jeff Bezos flying into space in a giant phallus, or Richard Branson hot air ballooning into the stratosphere, or driving a car across the English Channel, or Larry Ellison buying Hawaiian Islands and dedicating himself and his billions to winning the America's Cup, or Elon Musk, well, being Elon Musk. It's nice to find one that seems, well, boringly stable. Michael Dell is a self-made billionaire who arguably has changed the world multiple times, who not only isn't interested in flying to the moon or jumping into a volcano, but is more than content to keep on actively running the company he put his name on 1,000 years ago. And while he may be boring in comparison from a thrill-seeking perspective, he is anything but when it comes to talking about Dell Technologies. He is clearly 100% engaged, knows every detail of what is a massive company, and seems genuinely excited about what is next. I get tired just being in the same room with him. I find it totally refreshing to listen to a master of his craft stay focused on just that, his craft. Not running around grabbing headlines for foolishness, just for consistently executing at the highest level of business. Mr. Dell, who annoyingly is younger than me and slightly more wealthy, is difficult not to like personally, and he's impossible not to respect. Thanks for listening, and by all means send any and all comments and story ideas to comments@thebiggertruth.com.